Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to look at what we call one of our pitching characteristics, the collapsed front knee. And what I've got is I've got 4 MLB Major League players here on the screen, and I'm going to be looking at 3 things. I'm going to be looking at, imagine they swallowed a sensor and it was in the middle of their pelvis. That's the red line, and we're looking at what's called pelvic lift. If it goes up, if the pelvis goes up, the red line goes up. If the pelvis goes down, the red line goes down. The green line is, imagine if I put a sensor on their lead foot. As the foot goes up, the green line goes up. As the foot goes down, the green line goes down. And I'm going to be looking at the lead knee. So on these players, they're all right-handed, the left knee flex, right? So let's go ahead and take a look at this first player. So what I like to do is I like to take my player all the way to foot plant. Now I know that by looking at the lead foot, and when it stops going down right there, you'll see it gets to this flat line. That means the lead foot has established a firm plant on the ground. And I'm going to do that with each one of these players. That way we can kind of compare how each of these players react after their foot comes down to the ground. So I'm going to take this player, I'm going to stop him at lead foot plant, which is about right there. I'm going to take this player, stop him at lead foot plant, stop both of these, I'll back him up about right there. I'm going to back him up about right there. So if you notice, I've stopped each one of these where the green line has stopped moving down. So that's when the lead foot is planted. Now at this point in time, if you think about it, the pitcher is going down the mound. When they hit the ground should hit back. And that energy that comes back goes into the pelvis and helps create that torque, or that moment arm, which allows the pitcher to create some angular speed in the pelvis, which is eventually transferred up into the arm to help create velocity. Now just like anything, if you hit the ground and you want the ground to hit back, you can't keep flexing, you can't keep dropping. So most players, when they hit the ground, now let's take a look over here on the right first. All the way on the right, we have 2 all-stars here on the right from the major leagues. This player all the way on the right, if I take him forward from this point, you'll see his knee at this point is 42.5 degrees flexed. As I keep going, notice the knee is getting straighter. So in other words, as soon as the foot establishes a firm plant, the knee is already extending on this player. That allows the energy to go back into the pelvis. You'll also notice at foot plant, the pelvis has moved down 6.9 inches. That's because they've gone down the mound. As his foot establishes that firm ground, the pelvis starts to go up. It's getting higher in the air. So this person hits the ground, the energy goes into the leg, the knee starts to straighten, and the pelvis starts to raise. That means energy is going back into the pelvis. If I do the same thing on the third player here, again, you'll see at firm plant, the knee, the blue line here, is at maximum knee flex. So that means as they start to go forward, the knee becomes straighter, and again, the pelvis starts to raise up. Right? So the pelvis was at, let's go back, was at about 10.9 inches down. As they start to go forward, it just starts going up. So that energy is going up, and you're creating that vertical thrust that helps create torque. Now these 2 players on the left have something we call a collapsed front knee. If I look at the first player on the left, you'll see when they land, here's firm plant, the left knee is at 26.5 degrees and the pelvis is down 8.8 inches. As I start to go forward, notice the knee continues to flex and the pelvis continues to drop. I call that sitting in the pocket. So now basically the knee is at 38.1 degrees of flex and they're down 10 inches. So they basically, if I go to firm plant here, firm plant, they were at 8.9. They've continued to move the pelvis down 1.1 inches, so they're dropping or sinking. And the knee goes from 27.4 all the way to 38 degrees. That's just a lot of continued flex, and that's just wasting, I call it flushing energy down the toilet. The knee is flexing instead of the energy coming back into the pelvis. Same thing on this second player. If I step them forward, right now the pelvis is down 11.3, the knee's at 49 degrees. And you'll see the knee goes from 49 degrees all the way up to 54, and the pelvis went from 11.3 to 12.5, so over an inch of drop. Both of those are examples of collapsing the front side or collapsing the front knee, and that is one of the biggest power killers in baseball. That's collapsing the front knee.